morning, students. I hope you are having a great day. We are going to have a lesson today about protagonist and antagonist. So, those are some pretty big words. We're going to talk about what those mean. So, a fictional story contains several elements or parts. And so, remember, a fictional story is a story that is not true. It may have some true elements in it, but it did not necessarily really happen. Fictional stories can be fairy tales, fables, short stories, or sometimes fictional stories. But a fictional story must have a setting. The setting tells you where and when the story is taking place. So if this picture right here were depicting our setting, we could say it is taking place in a castle and maybe in the summer or spring due to what the weather looks like. I don't see any fall leaves or winter snow, so I would say in the fall or in the spring. So that would be our setting. A fictional story must also have characters, and this is where we're getting into our topic for today. So the characters can be minor or main characters. Minor characters are characters that are needed in the story, but they are not a major part of the story. So they would be characters that we could take out of the story, and the story would still make sense and still happen the way that it was meant to be by the author. Main characters, on the other hand, are the main or most important characters in the story. If you would remove the main characters from a story, you really wouldn't have a story anymore. So over here is a picture from the story Jack and the Beanstalk, and that's a fictional story. Here is a picture of the giant, and here is the picture of Jack, and you can see the beanstalk wrapping around there. So in the story Jack and the Beanstalk, the main characters are Jack and the giant. If we took them out of the story, we would no longer have a story. So main characters can be classified or identified or labeled, however you want to think of that word, as the protagonist or as the antagonist. The protagonist is who the story is about. The protagonist could be the good guy or the hero, but it doesn't have to be that the protagonist is good or the hero. So in Jack and the Beanstalk, the story is about Jack, and he is the protagonist. The protagonist faces challenges in the story. These challenges usually come from the antagonist. So in the story, Jack's challenges are that his family needed money, so he was supposed to sell the cow, but instead he traded it for magic beans, and then he planted those magic beans, and this beautiful beanstalk grew, and he climbed up it, and he started to realize that the giant had some pretty awesome things that he would like to have as well. And so Jack started taking those things, and the giant got upset and started to come after Jack. So one of the challenges in the story, Jack and the Beanstalk, would be the giant himself. So the giant is actually the antagonist as well. The antagonist is the character in the story that keeps the protagonist from getting what they want. The antagonist is usually labeled as the bad guy. The antagonist is actually anything trying to stop the protagonist to get what he wants. So the antagonist doesn't have to be a bad guy. Now, in Jack and the Beanstalk, the antagonist, the giant, was trying to kill Jack. So I would say he was probably more on the bad guy side. But remember, Jack was also trying to steal things from him. And so let's see if you can identify the protagonist and antagonist in each of these stories. So who is who? Superman, over here, fights crime. He tries to stop people from hurting other people. He fights for justice. Lex Luthor, this guy right here, runs a major corporation, so a big business. He has tons of money. His company does research to help the medical field. He uses his company to do research on kryptonite, a substance which can hurt Superman. So if these two, Superman and Lex Luthor, were in a story, who would be the antagonist? Who would be the protagonist? Remember, the protagonist is who the story is mostly about, and the antagonist is the person trying to get in the protagonist's way and stop them. If you guessed that Superman is the protagonist and Lex Luthor is the antagonist, you were correct. Superman fights for justice. He's trying to do the right things, but Lex Luthor is always there trying to get in his way, trying to make bad things happen, or trying to hurt Superman with kryptonite. Who is who? Buzz Lightyear is a brand new toy with all the bells and whistles. He has a variety of cool catchphrases and a working laser beam. He is ready to blast off to infinity and beyond. He's brand new and shiny. Woody is Andy's favorite toy. Andy plays with Woody every day until a new toy blasts into the toy room. So who is who? Who would be the protagonist and who would be the antagonist? Well, if you guessed that Buzz Lightyear is the antagonist and that Woody is the protagonist, you would be correct. Now, if you've seen the movies Toy Story or heard the story of Toy Story, Woody and Buzz Lightyear are both considered good guys. But Buzz Lightyear is the antagonist in the story because he is getting in the way of what Woody wants, which is for Andy to love him forever. Andy starts to love Buzz Lightyear too, and maybe even a little bit more than Woody, and that makes Woody upset. Now you are ready to decide who is the protagonist and antagonist in a fictional story. Today you're going to be listening and watching the story of the Three Billy Goats Gruff. It is a fictional text and it is a fable. While you watch, be thinking who would be the protagonist and who or what would be the antagonist trying to get in the way of what the protagonist wants. Best of luck. I know you will do your best.